Hi guys, how's it going? Today we are going to do snack of the day. I got these from Amazon. They are called, I don't really actually know what they're called. I like this is a problem. If someone's looking at your packaging and they don't even know what the name of your product is, it 100 cal? 100 cal snacks, I guess. I don't know, but probably a good idea to make it really clear what your name is. You might not want to cut it off, um, because like I don't know if this is like the name of your snack or if you're just trying to tell me there's only 100 calories in here. Not quite sure. Okay. But yes, an entire bag has 100 calories. And I think the box came with like pack of six. Okay. So what these are is they are barbecue flavored protein puffs, which is kind of cool. So you're getting a little bit of protein. Um, let's see how much. 11 grams to be exact. And they have ashwagandha herb, and then underneath that it says calming and energizing. Hmm. So which is it? Are you calming me or are you energizing me? I feel like those are contradictory. And it says 100% natural and non-GMO. Okay, go ahead and try it. See, this microphone doesn't capture the chewing sounds. Okay, that's really interesting. For those of you who are maybe just listening right now, I'm trying the snack. I'm chewing. Um, this is interesting. I don't know how I feel about this. So it's a little sweet like barbecue flavored chips, which is fine. I love the fact that it has 100 calories only for this entire bag. There's a lot of them in there. Texture's okay. I mean, it's fine because they are made for like protein. So I'll take that. What I don't understand, I just feel like they're trying to do too much with this. Like, are you giving me a protein-filled 100 calorie snack? Or are you trying to give me ashwagandha? Because it does have a very earthy kind of flavor to it. And I just feel like it's kind of unnecessary. Like, I think I would have done perfectly fine without all the ashwagandha. And I don't even know what ashwagandha is doing for me. If I'm buying this, it's probably because I'm buying it for the 100 cal and the protein. I don't really need ashwagandha in this. If I want ashwagandha, I'll just take it separately. So that would be my only feedback is I don't think you need the ashwagandha. It's adding a kind of odd herby flavor that doesn't really belong. Other than that, I have to double check if they have other flavors. I would love to try more of their flavors because, like I said, for 11 grams of protein and only 100 calories, yeah, that's kind of a no-brainer. This is more on the healthier side in case you're interested in a healthier snack. All right. So on to the good stuff. Today we are talking about something that basically I think is my hot take on what I'm seeing in the dating world. And it's a little bit, I don't know if controversial is the word. I don't know if I'm going to get canceled for saying this. I don't really have much of an audience right now anyway, so I feel like I can kind of talk about whatever. But this is basically what I'm seeing. So the people who I think found each other and locked it down and got married and did all that like maybe 10 years ago, they're all doing fine. They're all thriving. Both partners are relatively normal. And at least in my experience and what I've seen, like people around me. Nowadays, for the rest of us who are single and in the dating world, we all know it's a little bit of a shit show. Some of us, I'm sure you probably know why. I think the rise of dating apps and, other stuff, which I won't get into in this video. But basically, like, I just think nowadays men have so many options to choose from. There are more women that want to get married than there are men who want to get married. And so it's presented kind of a challenge for women to find men who want to get married, who actually are looking for something serious. And there's two camps of women right now. Well, maybe there are more, but I'm just going to talk about two for now. There's the one camp of women who they're consuming a lot of TikTok esque brain rot content, teaching women to basically, like, how should I say this? Yes, teaching goddess energy, which is great. I love it. Cool. I needed that. I'm definitely like that nice girl category. I definitely need more goddess energy, so I am not against that. Perfectly fine. However, I think it's going a little overboard to the point where women are literally getting brainwashed into seeing things on Instagram and thinking that everything they're seeing is real life. Um, I look at pictures of women who are getting gifted all these elaborate things like balloons and flowers, but like very, very curated photos of, you know, just all the stuff. And I'm like, there's no freaking way a guy planned that shit. Like, I just think it's giving, I did this for myself and I'm just pretending like my man did it. I mean, sure, I'm sure there are some guys who are really doing it. I get that. But like, I'm also pretty confident that there are some girls who are staging that whole thing. And people are kind of eating it up, thinking that this is totally real, that someone really did all of this. And it's like, no, like, guys don't, like, some of them do. I'm not saying they don't. I'm not saying like, I haven't experienced that. And so it's my limiting. No, like, I get it. There are very, very caring guys that will do that. I get that. But I think that the majority of it is fake and it's staged. And something that someone once taught me is just because you're getting all of that treatment doesn't mean they want to marry you. It could just mean that they want to have sex with you. So it's not really a flex to get all this stuff. What matters at the end of the day is how many proposals for marriage are you getting? That's what really matters at the end of the day. Anyone, any woman can go out there and find a guy who's going to give them princess treatment. Like, that's not really that hard to do. So, sometimes it's just a matter of like lowering your standards a little bit, finding a guy who thinks you are freaking amazing, and then boom, you get princess treatment, and that's cool. But yeah, it's not a flex. That's not a flex. The flex is how many of them actually want to take you to the altar and lock you down. That is the flex. So all of this content being put out there is like teaching women to raise their standards, which is great. Look, I do not want to be that friend that tells my friends to limit their beliefs and to limit what they deserve and should have and any of that. Like, that is not the friend that I want to be. However, I also don't want to see my friends single and wanting to be married and still single year after year after year after year. I hear the stories, I hear the sadness, I hear their desires, and their desire is to meet a guy, is to get married. But I also think that they are stopping themselves from making it happen because they're consuming this content. This content is teaching them to raise their standards beyond, I think, what is real. Like, I'm just going to say it for the majority. And I think that those expectations, those really, really, really high expectations, where when if a guy sneezes in their direction, they cut that shit off so quick. They're so quick to cut men off at the first sign of like anything less than princess treatment. And I honestly believe that that mentality is keeping women single. And so, my hot take is that especially if you are wanting to marry up and marry high value man, whatever you want to call it. I know we throw around that word a lot, but you know what I mean. Like a very high value man who has tons of options lining up. So my hot take is that sometimes, especially if we want to attract and keep that man hanging around, is we sometimes, first of all, we have to give him grace to be who he is, to make his mistakes, to not show up so perfectly. And we sometimes have to look the other way. We have to look the other way when maybe they're not showing up as perfectly as we want them to. Maybe they could have done things a little better, handled it this way or handled it that way. Like to put our expectations of how we think things should have gone, how he should have responded to this, how he should have, done this or done that. Sometimes, you just have to let a person be who they are and show up and do things the way that they feel like doing it. And I think that actually going with the flow is being the more feminine way. I think trying to control the situation and mold him, especially so early, right out the gates, like when you haven't even had the first date yet and he's trying to set up the first date. Trying to control the situation so early on, I don't think it's gonna play out the way you want it to. And I think that eventually women are going to limit their opportunities. They're going to limit their options because a lot of men are not going to put up with a lot of shit, and they want to be the planner and the doer. And then if you come in with your control, that is very masculine. And it's kind of a turnoff for a guy. So you want to let him, even if it's not to your level of standards. For example, someone asks for a coffee date and you don't want a coffee date. You want to go out to eat at a nice restaurant. Totally normal. I mean, I get that. However, sometimes we have to give the guy grace to be who he wants to be. If for the first date he wants to take you to coffee, let him take you to coffee because you never know. The second date could very well be a very nice, fancy restaurant, but he just wanted to kind of like just, you know, meet you because they're vetting us just as much as they're vetting, just as much as we are vetting them. And I have seen women who have shut down men for that coffee date and it didn't work out, or like after communicating with them, find out that like, oh no, they actually did have plans to, they have zero problem taking them to like a nice restaurant. They were actually just doing it out of their own comfort. And then I've seen women who went along with the coffee date. Obviously, it wasn't their preference, but they went along with it anyway. And guess what? Date number two was at a fancy restaurant. She didn't have to ask for it. That was already the intent all along. It's just that, like you need to just chill. Like just chill out a little bit. You will get there. If you're that woman, if you have those standards, you will get there. But maybe just chill a little bit and let the guy unfold himself. Like let him be the one to make those kinds of decisions for the two of you. At the end of the day, being feminine is going with the flow and letting the man lead and take charge and do all of that. Okay? He knows you want to go out to eat. Just let him do it on his own accord. You will get there. So, what do I mean by looking the other way? I don't mean allow a guy to cheat on you and then you're like looking the other way. No, I don't mean it in that sense. But what I do mean is that as long as you are being treated with respect and you're not giving yourself away physically, like you are maintaining your boundaries and they're not crossing those boundaries. And what do I mean by boundaries? I don't mean like um I don't know, let's think of some really silly boundary. Like, no, like he has to call me the day of the date. And that is my boundary. Like, if he doesn't call me on the day of the date, like, that's it. I'm never gonna see him. Like, he's irresponsible. Like, no, dude, chill out. Like, please chill out. I'm talking about real boundaries. Like maybe like I don't kiss on the first date. Okay, cool. Totally fine. You're allowed to have whatever it is that you want to have as your boundary. But just like make it normal, please. Make your boundaries somewhat normal and not so strict where it just like doesn't even make sense. And on top of all of that, please treat the guy. Like, don't set crazy expectations of how things should go on a guy that you wouldn't do to a friend. So, if a guy, I don't know, maybe like doesn't confirm with you or something, would you, or let's say, okay, let's say a guy is like, hey, I'm running like 20 minutes behind, you know, I'm sorry, like, can you wait for me? If you would not tell your girlfriend who said that to you, fuck this guy. I'm not gonna talk to him again. Like I'm not gonna pick up on him when he calls me. Like that's rude. That's like how many of you would actually do that to your friend? How many of you would be like, fuck this bitch? Like she's making me wait. She's making me like do this. Like that's just rude. It's like, no, most of you would not do that to your girlfriend. Okay. So, like, if you would not do that to your girlfriend, then don't do that to a guy. Like, come on, guys. Like, what are we doing here? No. So, Yes, of course, we treat our man differently from our friends, and like I get that. But when it comes to things like this, if you wouldn't do that to your friend, don't do that to the guy that you're dating or wanting to get to know either. Because that's just weird. To me, to be honest with you, if I were a guy and a woman did that to me, I'd be like, that's a fucking red flag. And like good riddance. You know what I mean? Because if a friend did that to me, I'd be like, this bitch is fucking crazy. Like, no. Abort, abort, abort. Like I probably would never speak to that person again. So, yeah, so treat them somewhat like you would your friend when it comes to things like that. If you would give your friend grace, give him grace as well, especially if it's early on. And when I say look the other way, I mean like guys be guys, especially if they are like high value men with a lot of options. A lot of them be acting crazy nowadays. Okay? They just do. And there's always going to be something wrong. No one will ever show up perfect. No one will is ever going to just show up as like the knight in shining armor and never make any mistakes along the way. Trust me, he will be making mistakes. He will. But at the end of the day, if you want to be married, especially nowadays, especially with how things are going, sometimes you're just gonna have to give them grace and move it along. Like get over it, you know, don't get so stuck on like the small, tiny little things like that go wrong that are just like not up to par with like how you envisioned it to be. And think about it this way, just if you don't believe me or maybe you're a little bit skeptical of what I'm saying, look back in your own life and ask yourself, well, how many years have I been at this dating thing? Okay. Let's say it's been 3, 4, 5, 10 years. Okay. At what point in the process is this breaking down and not, why is it not leading to a relationship? Why am I not getting past date number 3 or 4? Why am I not getting past date number 1? Why am I meeting 10 guys, but then at the end of the day, I'm only going on a date with like 1 or 2? So look at what is happening and see where the chain is breaking along the way and assess it at that point. So if like, things don't even get to the first date. So, how is your energy on phone calls? How is your energy with setting up appointments or dates? How is that process going? How many out of all the guys who get your number, how many ask for a date and then how many actually end up at a first date? After your first date, how many end up going to the second date and the third and the fourth? And look at what went down, what broke down in each of those stages and make a note of it so you can see maybe there's something either in your energy, maybe there's something that you're physically saying and doing that is somehow turning them off in some way. Um, yeah, and it's all about just measuring it and like looking back on, what's been happening to get some feedback and some answers so that you can fix whatever it is that's broken and move on. Because at the end of the day, it's about the outcome. It's about getting what we want. And what I'm finding is that the people that I know who are pretty strict with how men are showing up for them versus the women who are a little bit more relaxed. The ones who are a little bit more relaxed, they're hitting and having more and more success and getting closer and closer to the finish line versus the ones who are really strict and really picky, things are just falling apart and it's just like it feels almost like spinning their wheels and it's like not getting to where they want it to be. They're not even getting close to it. And that's a problem because you have to get some practice in where things are getting close because there's going to be problems along the way, even with the ones that get close. So you need practice at all the levels. You need more and more practice at it. Um, and I just think that like even for myself, where let's say I've given grace, I know my friends would have probably not given grace at all, and they wouldn't even have made it past, you know, month one or two or three or whatever it may be. Like it would have been cut off. But when you give grace, that's how you let things unfold and develop and maybe potentially turn into something really beautiful. So that is my hot take, which is basically nowadays, especially if you're going for a high value men who have a lot of options, sometimes you're going to need to bring a little grace. Sometimes you're going to need to look the other way when, they're not showing up as perfectly as you want to. Sometimes you're going to have to lower these damn expectations of princess treatment, like, and like basically lower your expectations of crazy ass, unrealistic Disney princess treatment. Okay. I'm not saying you can't get it. I'm not saying you're not deserving of it. I'm not saying, I mean, if it's working for you, by all means, keep going at it. However, I'm just saying, if you're the type of person who is trying to get married and you've been at it for a long time and it's not working out, it's time to start facing reality and stop listening to TikTok as your source of information and, your perception of reality because you can't always believe what you see. All right. That is it for today. Don't hate me. I love you guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.